David Starkey is a man of considerable erudition, formidable wit, and a devastating knack for provocation. Yet erudition is not immunity from error. And the other day he did a talk, and it's been put up on the internet. It's a talk in Oxford at the Sheldonian, and I would delivered with characteristic bravura, and a lot of wit and a lot of references, but I think it goes gravely astray intellectually, historically, and politically. His starting point is that history should anchor a society. History is our bedrock, and it's objectionable. He falls into two falsehoods. First, he portrays history as singular, rooted, and linear, a fertilized soil, he calls it. In reality, history is messy. It's contested, it's multi-stranded. Britain's history is not one clean tradition, but a constant collision and a reweaving of influences: Roman, Anglo-Saxon, Norse, Norman, African, Caribbean, Indian. He mistakes the existence of a past for the uniformity of that past. And secondly, he overstates the extent to which tradition operated consciously. Most historical development is an adaptation. It's improvement by coincidence. It's not deliberate conservation. Starkey romanticizes the past and therefore projects into the present something that is coherent, when in fact it is more likely to be improvised chaos. Then he goes on to talk about language and culture, and his story about Chaucer creating English is dramatically oversimplified. I love Chaucer. Just as I love Shakespeare and particularly love Milton. And all of these are references, really, in Starkey's assumptions, but he is wrong. The English did not disappear into peasant grunts, or English itself, the language did not appear into peasant grunts after 1066. Middle English evolved continuously. A lot of it moved up to Scotland, but albeit with heavy French and Latin borrowings. Chaucer didn't invent English, he elevated and codified a London dialect already well developed. Other writers, for example the Pearl poet, William Langland, were contemporaries working in vigorous English. And one demonstration of the way in which English survived, and not necessarily in England, is the fact that the first printed book in English is in Scotland. The Latinization of English was not a second wave of greatness. It was that Latinization was often derided as pompous. Now, of course, I love the Latinization of English, but I've got to think of Swift's rage at Latin-derived polysyllabic monsters. Starkey mythologizes linguistic history into an heroic narrative of revival when it was always a plural and overlapping process. When it comes to modernity and tradition, this is perhaps the most jarring bit, is his lament that modernism, artistic, political, and cultural modernism, represents a rupture rather than an evolution. Modernism arose not merely from a destructive impulse, but from the catastrophic failure of 19th century traditions. World War I, colonialism, mass death are all a result of the 19th century. Artists like Duchamp, Miro, and Eliot were reacting to real social trauma, not merely to boredom. This was not an explosion of ennui. He decries the constant modernisation post-1997, but he praises Britain's past adaptability, the 19th century reforms. He can't have it both ways. Either history evolves or it ossifies. And his criticism of ugly cities like Birmingham implicitly assumes that only grand elite architecture counts, and Birmingham has plenty of that as well. He ignores that 1950s rebuilding brought housing to millions of bombed-out working-class people. And he presents this reactionary nostalgia, which is not a credible historical analysis of change. When he comes to Magna Carta, to Parliament and constitutional mythology, again, he is wrong. His evocation of Magna Carta as the seedbed of constitutional liberty is classic Whig history, and it's deeply misleading. Magna Carta was not about democracy. It was about a deal among aristocrats, and the idea that it birthed government by the people is a later myth, retrofitted during the 17th century. Parliament was not always a symbol of popular will. Until the 19th century, it was a bastion of elite interest with rotten boroughs, property qualifications, and so on. His attack on the Human Rights Act as well conflates rights culture with foreign imposition. Britain had evolving traditions of rights long before 1998, but modern rights protection was in fact a response to domestic failure, the miscarriage of justice, the abuse of minorities, and so on. His claim that Britain needed no innovation after 1688 is self-flattering fiction. And as for 1997 and the alleged catastrophe of Blair, Starkey's argument is that 1997 was something like Hitler's rise to power. It's not only grotesque, it's historically illiterate. Blair's 1997 reforms, and by the way, I'm not a fan of Blair. His 1997 reforms, his devolved Parliament, his Human Rights Act, his Bank of England independence were evolutionary, not revolutionary. They built on debates from the 1970s. And just to make it very clear, when Blair came to power, I went to Greece. The catastrophe of UK in the 2000s was the UK in the 2000s was economically strong, internationally respected, and socially more inclusive than the 1980s. That is the truth. The UK was better in the 2000s than in the 1980s. The 2000s was not an introduction of chaos. I mean, whether you like Tony Blair or not, he was successful. As for the quangos and the judiciary, he conflates expert agencies and judicial review with tyranny. Yet historically, Britain has always delegated governance to the Privy Council, to the church courts, to professional guilds. The idea that experts represent a post-1997 invasion is nonsense. Those experts may be wrong. Those experts may have over-egged their omelette. But the idea that this is something new is, again, a misreading of history, and he should know better. 1997 marks not the end of Britain's tradition, but the continuation in new conditions. And the fact that Starkey and I don't like 1997 is neither here nor there. He is wrong to impose his dislikes onto his analysis. And so finally, just because I'm waffling on, I'm afraid, why is Starkey's vision wrong? Starkey loves the past not as it was, but as he wishes it might have been. And in other words, he's a romantic. And there's nothing wrong with being a romantic, as long as you can see that you're looking at everything through honey-coloured spectacles. That's great. Just do a bit of licking, and get rid of some of the honey because it's dripping down your nose. He presents a binary, either tradition or collapse. In reality, Britain's strength lies in a pragmatic blending of tradition and innovation. So what he's giving us in his speech is a false choice. And he's doing that by invoking a form of dangerous nostalgia. Restoration fantasies fail because they imagine a simple world that never existed in the first place. We cannot simply go back. As T.S. Eliot, whom Starkey himself cites, put it, history may be servitude, history may be freedom. Understanding the past should liberate us to act better, not chain us to some sort of myth of a history that never really existed. Starkey has allowed interpretation to overwhelm the evidence and his own political instincts.